So how do you get invited to a play party? This is Reid from readaboutsex.com.
This is Cathy from the intimacydojo.com.
Yeah, and Reid, so like if you even wondered about play parties, you're like, you know, wanting to go one, check it out. How do you get invited?
Know somebody who's throwing one, I guess.
Well, that's...
What would you do?
Well, one, I would let my friends that might know of things like that, my more out there, outgoing friends, adventurous friends, I would let them know.
You let them know what?
That I was interested in a play party and ask them if they could introduce me to someone or invite me to go with them if that was a yes for them.
What if you had no adventurous people? What if
I
you just stumbled across something on YouTube and then all of a sudden you're like, play parties, orgies, I want in. Then what would you do?
It depends on where you are. If you're in the San Francisco area, there are public play parties that people can go to.
How do you find them?
Partly it's being out there and looking, but FetLife has a lot of things. Meetup has some. I don't know that they always talk about play parties, but they have more adventurous types of groups that may lead you to meeting people that have play parties or go to play parties. And then just asking in general. I think it really helps too if you have your consent under control. Like you show that you can ask for things and be okay if people say no. I think that helps when people like going to cuddle parties and learning how to use your yes and no's in a non-sexual place will help.
Would make you better for a play party situation.
Yeah, help people feel safer inviting you. And one thing I love to do is offer to help because I'm shyer. I tend to, if I'm helping someone, like, I hear you're throwing a play party. I, don't know if it's open or not, but if you ever wanted some help, I'd love to help you with
volunteering to help.
Yeah. Check the door, coat check, making sure there's food out, lube fairy, cleaning up afterwards.
What's a lube fairy?
A lube fairy is someone who goes around and provides lube to those in need at their request.
Kind of like being the coat check girl or coat check person for a party, but you take lube to people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if like someone's like, condom!
And you're like, got it!
Yeah.
You're on it. Okay. Yeah. Got it. All right.
That's sometimes called a lube fairy. If you're willing to like run things, like when someone needs a glass of water in the middle of a scene, or that's a way to get to know people a little bit. And I like to feel useful. It helps me feel part of. So what else would you recommend for people?
Not for nothing. The reason we're talking about this is I run play parties and teach people. The oven is now preheated.
Yes.
If you were wondering what that was. I like throwing play parties. I like helping people figure out how to throw play parties. To the extent that you could go to readaboutsex.com/play party, and then sign up to be on a resource list.
Yep.
But I think the big thing around trying to get invited to one is understanding that they're out there, and people who throw play parties have also, and communities that are sexual communities have had bad experiences with people, new people coming in, or even people who've been a part of communities for a while. So your consent note on like become impeccable if you can, and savvy, get your black belt in how do you navigate consent. How do you understand the nuances of an alternative community that you might not have had any prepping for because, normal society doesn't necessarily prep people for good skills around how to navigate intimate spaces or, play party spaces and understanding how to figure out what the actual protocols are from community to community, because they're almost like little subcultures. What is appropriate in America may be very different in Egypt or Japan,
or that play party may have very different rules from the other.
Sure, swinger play parties might be different than a BDSM play party, and a BDSM play party that's queer might be different than one that's straight, or leather BDSM might be different than whatever, a pansexual radical fairy play party. But knowing that there are differences and being able how to check in and ask, that you're somebody who knows to ask about those things. Like, what are your customs in this strange culture that I have now entered? Those are part of those things that have organizers be like, oh, okay, so you might be a beginner, but you're a very savvy beginner.
Right.
Which is very different than, people who think they know everything.
I'd also encourage, if you haven't been to a play party, don't expect to be able to walk in the room and suddenly have sex with everybody in there.
What?
It doesn't happen that way often. There are some parties that might happen, but most of them aren't. So I encourage you to get some of your needs met beforehand. Just like you wouldn't go to a very fancy formal dinner where you want to impress the people there. If you were starving and going to grab all the food and eat it, masturbate before, get some touch needs met. Show up with the intention of just to get to know people and experience the culture, maybe not play the first couple times.
Which is actually good advice for people who organize and throw play parties. If you go to other people's play parties, you shouldn't go with the expectation that you're going to get laid. Because beginner's mind, my friend.
Yeah, and I love your play parties. You have always emphasized that voyeurism is participation. And I think that it's really useful to just watch and observe and get to know people, have good conversations, and then start feeling into the culture before you feel like, I think when people put a lot of pressure on themselves to feel like they have to have the sex with all the people, then it comes off as kind of creepy because there's that agenda like, hey, what are you doing now? Like, come on, you're on my, I have to check off the boxes versus you seem like a nice person. Let's see if there's any energy between us.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting stuff. Seems like there's a lot to juggle and navigate.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use some resources.
And if go to the resource page. If you're in an area that doesn't have any play parties, you may have to be the one creating them. So,
if somebody was only throwing a course on how to throw play parties, that would be useful. Yeah. Go to readaboutsex.com/play party, and we'll get you resources as they are available. Yeah. Hope this was helpful. Leave some comments. What's your advice about finding a play party? Or do you know of communities or events that you can post in the comments to direct people to more resources? Because after all, group sex is a community effort.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to subscribe to my social media, it's right there. And please subscribe to this channel there. If you'd like to see more goofy Reid and Cathy, there's more videos there.
See them. Why are they there?